Sometimes we just can't get out for an 8 to 10 hour drive to get to a spot where we can just scout to look for a campsite. That eats up a lot of time. We want to make it a lot more efficient when planning our vacations and our adventures. So there's got to be an alternative to just driving to an area, spending a couple days scouting, and then going home and planning your adventure. Why can't you just plan your whole adventure from home? So how would you like to find that next epic campsite or that next 4x4 trail from a bird's eye view without even having to leave your own house? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I'm going to share all my tips and tricks that I've accumulated over the years on something I like to call e-scouting. What is e-scouting, you might ask? E-scouting is simply this, and it doesn't get much more easy. You can take whatever device you have, whether it's your phone, your tablet, or your desktop. All of these can be used to e-scout your next adventure. I noticed that when I'm planning my adventures, I get just about as excited when it comes to e-scouting as I do when it actually going on the adventure itself. Maybe because it's just really easy to do, or maybe because it's just so darn effective. There's no better way to learn the ground that you're going to be seeing on your adventure than seeing that ground before you even get there. And you can easily do that with all the satellite imagery that's available to us today. Learning how to use that satellite imagery can be a little bit tricky, but when you get the hang of it, it's a huge level up in your adventuring game. So stick around as I show you exactly how I go about poring over satellite imagery to find a campsite. So let's just get right into it, shall we? At this point in your search for Crown Land, I'm going to assume that you already know how to find Crown Land. If you don't know how to find Crown Land, stop right here, pause the video, and go watch my other video specifically on finding Crown Land. I'll have a link for it down below. There will also be a pop-up at some point when I'm doing this little spiel. So now that we got that out of the way and you're back and you're just an expert on Crown Land, because it just takes a matter of minutes to figure out how to use the Crown Land Atlas. I'm joking. It's clunky. It's bad. The Ontario government really should look at upgrading it. Anyway, as you can see here, I primarily use Gaia GPS for all my adventures. I plan my adventures through Gaia GPS. I use it when I'm on the road. That's where I get all my waypoints, and I recorded all these tracks you can see here in Ontario. Yes, the majority is in Northern Ontario. We are based in Southern Ontario, so it is literally to get from my neck of the woods in the Bruce Peninsula to Sudbury. It is a 5-hour drive just to start most of our adventures. Most of the time we end up on the shores of Lake Superior, which is a good 10-hour drive. So you can imagine driving all that distance, mainly on the highway. Sometimes we take dirt roads back and forth. Once we get up to Sudbury, cutting across through Algoma, there's a lot of amazing roads. And those will lead to some great accidental campsites that you did not plan on staying. But say you're looking for a campsite. You know, I don't want to drive 10 hours with no plan. I'd like to have a plan. I think most of us do. That's why you're watching this video. Now, as you can see here on Gaia GPS, it's recorded everything. But to make it very easy and not distracting, we're going to go ahead and turn off all these routes, all these tracks, all the waypoints, everything. So you end up with a fresh map. So now that you've picked a parcel of Crown Land that you know you can camp on and you want to go explore that area, where do you start? Well, I mean, we'll start by just zooming into an area here around like 129. It's a great area. There's lots of Crown Land. But as you can see, this is the Backroad MacBooks layer on Gaia GPS, which is part of their premium subscription package. Yes, that does cost, what, $70 annually or something like that. I personally, to me, it's worth it. It's worth it if you're out and about a lot. Because you're going to get access. As you can see, there's a lot of little squiggly lines here, which are logging roads that run directly off the highway. It's a 2-lane paved highway. Unfortunately, there is no Crown Land layer available through Gaia GPS yet. I really hope that the fine folks at Backroad MacBooks are working on that and working with Gaia to get something we can toggle on and off. There is also iHunter that you can use. I have a video on that as well. It is a great alternative to the Atlas and how to find Crown Land, but again, we're not here to discuss on how to find Crown Land, or this video will literally go on forever. if I just start talking about that. So anyway, we're gonna pick an area here to explore. Say just south of Aubrey Falls Provincial Park, which is a non-operating provincial park. So technically there, the rules do apply to Crown land. And we will take a look inside the park and I'll show you, well, I mean, it's pretty obvious where the campsites are there because it's where all the seasonals have set up their trailer for the entire summer. If you've ever been to Aubrey Falls Provincial Park, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But just for a little blank canvas, we'll go down here halfway on 129. And it doesn't really help you much. You're not going to find much in terms of a campsite by looking at the base maps from Backroad map books. Yeah, okay, you're going to find some logging roads that, oh, they go a little bit close to a lake. So we're going to zoom into that. But first, we're going to turn on either the world imagery layer or the satellite layer. There. Sometimes they take a little while to load, but now where did all my roads go? You can see some roads, but it would be nice to have those tags. So you just want to do it a little bit transparent, say around 75%. So you've got a mix of the roads from the Backroad map books layer, and now you've also got the satellite imagery that you can work with. And with the satellite imagery, depending on the area, the quality either improves or gets worse, depending on how far you've zoomed in. So anyway, like just off Highway 129, you've got a bunch of logging roads. You can see them. They are a little bit shadowed right now because I have the Backroad map books layer on. But if I was to go turn that off, you can see the roads a little bit more clearly now. So these are where you're going to start, dropping your waypoints, saying, here's a road I want to check out. Just something simple like that there. Now, when you go to Gaia GPS on your phone, I'm doing this on the website. You can also do this on your phone. That is the big difference. I'm doing it on my desktop just for, well, that's where my recording equipment is. But you can do this from your phone or on your iPad. Anything with a bigger screen is going to be a lot easier. That's why I'm doing it on my desktop and also to record it to show all you guys how to do this. But even a lot of the stuff I'll do on my couch on my iPad. Doesn't really matter where you do it, but wherever you do it on Gaia GPS, the next time you log in and sync on whatever device you have, your waypoints are going to be there. But anyway, as you can see, this road, the main section looks fairly well traveled. Like anything, use caution. You know your vehicle, you know you're driving better than anybody else, so you should know when to turn around. All you got to do really is just kind of scan along these roads. Just keep looking. Eventually, you're going to find something that looks like a half-decent campsite. Really doesn't say, you don't really know when the satellite imagery was taken, but yeah, there's a little dam and bridge here on a creek. There's little areas like this here that could possibly be a campsite. So we'll go ahead and drop another pin on that. So now you know when to get there that it could possibly be a campsite. Of course, with Gaia GPS, you've got all these fancy little things, so you can put a tent. There you go. That might possibly be a campsite you can check out. That took, what, less than a minute to find that? And now you can see also from there that there is an entrance down here to a hydro line with some track clearly visible all the way down south, which now also leads you right here to this water access, which you can tell snowmobile trails go around it quite frequently during the winter. So you can tell that there's going to be some kind of access down there. So depending on how you're going to camp, that is going to really be a big factor in where you're going to set up camp, because you're probably not going to get down here towing a trailer, maybe a little tent trailer maybe, but not 20-30 foot RV. It's not going to make it down these roads. But as you can see, it does continue somewhere down here. Who knows where it ends up? Goes into the bush, comes back out onto the hydro line. But that also shows you some other options, like if you're on an ATV or a 4x4, Jeep or Toyota truck, something with a decent off-road capabilities, then you can check out the hydro lines. That gives you a lot more options than camping, unless you're just car camping or towing a trailer. But as you know, continue down the road, you see, where the road comes more towards the water again. Fortunately, this satellite image is not that great. But there could be another little spot there to set up. There could be a spot here in the tree. And now, when you get to the end of the road, you can see that there are a bunch of cottages. So that does mean that this road is going to be fairly maintained. At least until this X split off, where then the road continues north. It looks like it gets a little less used up there, and then pretty much disappears into the bush. So that's probably as far as I'd go, unless you have an ATV or a vehicle with fairly confident, and you yourself are fairly confident in off-road driving. But let's go find another spot to explore. But yeah, you're gonna see this kind of stuff on Highway 129 quite a bit. There is a lot of crown land camping just off the highway and on both sides. Sometimes you might have to go down a little bit of a logging road to get there. But usually anywhere you're scouting along the road and you see what looks to be trailers set up, that's probably going to be a crown land campsite. It's going to be very popular, obviously, just off the highway, but those are another little spot to look for. And then you can also see here, jutting across the highway. Now, there's no guarantee that this bridge is going to be in good repair. You find that a lot up north that will be barricaded. They only use it for logging, and now they don't take care of the bridge, so it's eventually nature takes its course, nature takes everything back. But you can see more logging roads to explore. There's a little offshoot here, which you could definitely set up a trailer in there, and then you're fairly close to explore by ATV to get to and from the river and stuff like this. Again, you can see that clearly in this satellite view that there are some trailers set up there. So you could set that as another possible campsite. So when you're exploring the area, just check it out and see if that's true. Pretty much, I mean, you can explore these logging roads fairly in depth, and then you'll come across more things like this that are, it might not be an ideal site for some people, but for some people, hey, that might be a great base camp because I'm going to go out on my ATVs and just explore the area for a day, and then you just come back and you're right there. You can walk down to the river, have a swim, or in the creek, whatever. That's the nice thing about crown land camping. You can pretty much set up anywhere. I mean, obviously you want to be respectful. You don't want to intrude on other people. They're there for the same reasons. You don't want to block the roads. Depending on what you have, you can do it. There are little kind of offshoots like this on most logging roads that you could set up in, but let's face it, that's a last resort. You don't want to plan your trip and go set up tucked in along the tree line, having ATVs and 4x4s and trucks going by all day blowing dust into your campsite. It's just not an ideal situation for anybody. Now sometimes you'll come across sections that look like this. Yes, it still is crown land. Clearly there was a very heavy logging operation. This area in particular, I do know the history of. There was a forest fire here in the late 1980s, I think. And the ministry basically told them to clear the land after the forest fire. So loggers came in. This was a time when reforestation was not on the high priority list of loggers. So everything there was clear cut, unfortunately. But you'll come across various levels of forestation. Nowadays, they plant more trees than they take. Logging has significantly changed for the better in the last 50 years. You can still see that, some of these do provide camping situations. Whereas this, there's a little clearing. People have parked their trailers here. This might be an actual hunt camp. Usually if there is some kind of building or permanent looking structure there, then it is leased crown land for a hunt camp. So it's best not to interfere, especially during hunting season. There's no way you should even go near this because chances are people will be hunting very, very close, and you don't no matter your opinion on hunting, it is still illegal to interfere with a legal hunt, no matter your intentions. Again, when you're traversing some of these logging areas, you will find clearings, you will find gravel pits, stuff like that, where you could set up in this area here, down the road. Again, it's looking at the satellite imagery. It's going to be totally different when you get there. I guarantee it, because they're not updated frequently. So this is Aubrey Falls Provincial Park that I was talking about before. As you can see, there's one main entrance, and immediately right off the highway, there's Highway 129. You go in about 150 meters, and there is a massive opening that is just filled with trailers. I mean, this is well, now it just changed to a more summertime view as I zoomed in just a tad. And you can clearly see like just how many trailers are set up. And I think this is quite tame from what I've seen and what I've heard. Basically, when you go to a non-operating provincial park like Aubrey Falls, basically when you come in, they just have signs that say the 21-day rule is in effect. Unfortunately, some people don't abide by that. If you want to get real nitpicky about it, you can call the MNR and report it. But there's no guarantee that they are going to catch the people or deal with the situation in general, because it's just not high on their priorities. But they basically just don't want you to block boat launches. So like this little boat launch area, there is a campsite in the middle. I've been there a couple times. So it is a pretty well-known area, and a lot of people do camp. And you can see there's even more camping down the road. Even more, there's a boat launch there, so that's not a camping spot, but there's a nice big open camping spot here. And then a little further down on these logging roads, we've explored. There is another big camping spot up here, as well as a permanent established hunt camp. Just the kind of things you have to look for when you are on Google Earth. Just by scrolling down these logging roads, it's pretty amazing what you can find. Really, anything, even from a distance, anything that looks like a gravel pit like this. I mean, it's up to you. You're the one setting up camp. If that looks good to you, you're just there for a night, that's fine. You might not want to spend a week there, but it's a great backup. So just anything like that, you just mark it on your GPS. When you create a waypoint in Gaia Maps, or even if you're doing this on Google, you can do this through Google Earth, no problem. There's no lack of anything that looks like a campsite. Might be a campsite. In that case, that is not a campsite. That looks like a road crew station. So you're gonna come across that, especially in Northern Ontario, where there's not a lot of buildings. As you continue to explore some of these logging roads, you just come across stuff like this, especially like zoom in wherever you see like this, a road that comes close to a lake. It's very, very likely that in the past somebody has cleared kind of a little spot to create a campsite. So these are definitely going to appear all over the place and going to be visible on a satellite view. That's for sure. But basically, the more you do this, the more time you spend going around, the more things are just going to hit you a lot quicker. Like you'll be able to zoom in and see that, okay, yeah, these are just maybe old gravel pits, but now you could just pop in there. You can kind of see faintly here through the bush. There is another little campsite down here right next to the creek. Great if you want to throw your canoes and kayaks and go fishing in the lakes and the rivers. But really, it just comes down to doing this. You can see here that this bridge is washed out. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. When you're going down these logging roads, you're just going to have to keep in mind that bridges do get washed out and bridges don't get fixed. This actually, we've actually been down this road. So for this one in particular, there is a bypass that you go through the river. It's not very deep. At least in drier seasons, it's not very deep. So you can kind of just skirt through there. But that's another thing you have to take into account. It looks a little bit marshy. I would not set up there. More cottages. Yeah, the more you just cycle through these logging roads using the satellite view like this, I mean, it's almost as good as being there. And, you know, sometimes you'll see things that you wouldn't have seen when just driving down this road, because this entrance here looks a little overgrown. You might just fly by that, but lo and behold, it looks like it takes you to a nice little campsite. You would have missed that if you just drove on by and missed that entrance. Yeah. That's the nice thing about e-scouting. You're going to see things that you might not see on the ground. And just like this is another little, definitely a little campsite here. You could definitely set up. Then there's also another little trail that goes down to another campsite. And it almost looks like it crosses the creek as well and continues down. So you might be able to access this river system either just by hiking or with an ATV possibly. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities out there, but it's up to you to find them and take advantage of them. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope everybody took away some worthwhile information from this video that will help you out on your next adventure. Please, as always, tread lightly. Pick up the garbage of others that have been left at the campsite. We need to all work together to keep these campsites open. Garbage being left at these campsites from people that either just don't care or people that are new to this and don't understand Crown Land camping. We need to educate them, not get upset, just pick up the garbage, move on, and it's going to be better for all of us, I swear. Thank you everybody, have a good day.